call a special meeting to order at 3:01. And we'll stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, Mary Jane.
Council members: Bill Canny.
Here.
Jim Garventa.
Here.
Bruce Marini.
Here.
Connie Williams.
Here.
Ron Stern.
Here.
Steve Burke is here. Administrator Shannon Miller.
Here.
Our interim engineer is gone for the evening. Attorney Byron Smith.
Here.
Interim finance director Rajan Sadajian.
Here.
Fire chief Amy New.
Here.
Chief of police Mark Stinson.
Here.
Community development director Michelle Kellogg.
Here.
Okay. Before I post the agenda.
At 8:30 a.m. on the 12th day of February 2016, the agenda for this special meeting is posted outside City Hall for public view.
Thank you. Anybody in the audience have anything to bring up that's not on the agenda? Seeing none, we'll go to the main item, discussion topics. Ken, help yourself.
Okay, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, and public and staff. I've provided to you at your table a copy of what's on the PowerPoint. And I took the items that were on the work plan that we previously distributed to you, and those are segregated by subject. I've reassigned them or reorganized them by department, so you can see what the departments are doing in relation to current and pending projects, and get some sense of the workload and some sense of the things that we would look for some direction on prioritizing. So they're broken out into three subject areas: ongoing activities that are not just the routine day-to-day kinds of things, but the additional activities that are either ongoing that have a carryover from year to year, or they're activities that are ongoing but aren't part of the normal routine. And then other current assignments that the staff is working on, and then the list of pending assignments or things that still need to be done that either have come up as items that we've identified or items that the council's identified. So with that, we start with the Administration and Finance Department, and listed under the ongoing activities, various things that we're involved in. We've had this year, I would say, more than a normal level of recruitment, and there's still a number of recruitment activities going on, including ongoing recruitment for police officer, the in-house promotions that started with the lieutenant proceeding to a sergeant and ultimately another police officer. Recruitment's down in the fire department, and still need to select a city engineer as well as an office assistant out front. The Affordable Care Act has required some additional reporting and noticing to our employees, so that's an ongoing activity that's new this year. We still are in the middle of a couple of payroll audits, and this time of year, which one of the items will be on your agenda, that's the mid-year budget review, but it's a time for the audit and the annual report. And then with the Vision Sonora project, or plan, both my time and the Community Development Director's time is committed to various committee assignments. With that in mind, there's a list of other current assignments that we're working on, including the Green and Monroe Intersection Project, the Sunrise Hills Assessment District, which I would have the city attorney take the lead on that project. The computer software upgrade, and I would share with the council, we do have proposals in for the equipment now for the upgrade. We've been working on increased, oh, I should, no, it's still there. It's got to go there. Working on efforts to improve the maintenance downtown, with just Darren over at the TCTC, we'll be reviewing the project study report for the Shaw's Flat intersection. And then the last one is the PEG fee ordinance, and again, that's another project that I would have the city attorney work on in terms of drafting the ordinance. So then we get to the activities that aren't yet started. And for each of these, the staff has gone through and identified in some fashion what we think the priorities are. And that's what we would come back and ask the council to take a look at and give us other direction if there is such.
Tim, are you saying everything that's on this original sheet that you gave us is incorporated? Okay.
The things that are listed completed aren't in here. But for the most part, I think 95% of them reflect in here. Some of the there might be some minor projects that I didn't include, but I didn't bring my kind of cross-check list, but yeah, they should all be in here. And I thought it would be, as I mentioned, I thought it would be more helpful to look at it in the context of departments instead of whether they're ordinances or studies or construction projects, because they're assigned in different ways to the different departments. So out of negotiations, we've got two things to look at, and that's classification and compensation study and a health benefit review. There are two projects that we discussed with the council, the Rosano Crosswalk project, which is at Rosano and Stewart. And we discussed the possibility of putting a well in at Woods Creek. As a part of the Mona Way project, there's a community art element still to be completed. There's two studies for the downtown area that we're talking about, both for road closures and parking, our public parking lots.
Sorry.
Yeah, well, they have copies too. But thank you. Oh, you need it for the camera. There's still a need to develop a capital improvement plan, and there's been some talk about updating our business license fee. So then after we go through the brief overview, then I'd like to come back to each of these departments and look at these pending projects and give some direction for the council. And if there's others that we haven't included or haven't come up in the past, then we'd like to identify what they are as well. Moving on to community development, number of planning type studies that are underway. We budgeted for general plan and zoning code update, that's in process. The Dragoon Gulch Master Plan and environmental document are in process. The block grant project administration and implementation is the fire hydrant water line project. That includes both that as an element, the multifamily project, and the historic inventory that needs to be completed. Previously mentioned the Vision Store Committee assignments, and then we have an ongoing micro enterprise program for small businesses in essentially in the downtown area. Other projects that are current assignments that are underway, the Stewart Street restroom project, we've got floor plans that we reviewed. We're expecting building elevations and drawings for both the design committee and the Vision Sonora committee, and then that will come to the council. We're in the middle of the street furniture project with your award or your approval of the additional funds at your last meeting. The department's also working on a website update, which will come back to one of the Vision Sonora committees and also the council. There's several construction projects that are currently out to bid. You'll be seeing those at your council meeting in March. They include repairs to the Opera Hall that was funded by the Sonora Area Foundation, repairs to the Education Center building, a re-roof of the Visitors Bureau, and ADA access improvements on the second floor here, Green Street's entrance into City Hall. Following those, the Stockton Washington Transit Project, which is a CMAQ funded project, as well as the Park and Rec project. And then two other things that are consultants are working on our code enforcement ordinance and a building fee update. Other things that still need to, that are still pending, we would like to update our encroachment permit procedures. We're dealing with tree mortality at Dragoon Gulch. There's a number of trees that have died out there along the pathway, and we actually have just completed the removal of a hazard tree that's on the Dragoon Gulch property that was a hazard to properties in the county just off of Leland Drive, and that was tree was taken down in the last week, and baseline crews came in to clean up all the brush today. So we've got those issues out and around Dragoon Gulch. We have a need to do some repairs to the ADA access portion or the paved portion of Dragoon Gulch. And then there's been discussions with the Vision Sonora committees regarding branding and wayfinding signage in the downtown. In the police department, there's a number of grants that are ongoing. Although the That's the Cops grant runs out this year, that funded an officer within the department. There's the state cops grant that's an ongoing grant that funds an officer's position. Those all require, depending on the grant, quarterly reporting, semi-annual or annual reporting, or all of the above. The AB 109 funds that we've been receiving, we've been able to reprogram those for a school resource officer that should be beginning first part of March. And then there's a Homeland Security grant. There's a committee that involves the police chief and the fire chief within our departments for allocating funds for additional safe equipment. The others, kind of one-time grants, the Office of Traffic Safety, the chiefs applied for a grant for equipment under that program, as well as the Department of Justice grant. There are various ordinances that we've talked about, some that have been coming to you in draft form and for which revisions have been requested. They're under the police department because they would be the enforcement authority for these ordinances, but they would involve, in some cases, more than just the police department in terms of preparing them. There's a update needed to the taxi ordinance because of changes in state law. The council has reviewed the it's listed as no parking limitation ordinance that we need to bring back to you with some revisions. There have been some suggested changes to the tow ordinance that we would plan to bring back. You had adopted a no camping ordinance that's sunsetted. We haven't brought that back to you. There is some court cases that have even strengthened the position that limits cities' abilities to prohibit camping, particularly on public property. So we need to evaluate it in that context. There was a draft of a synthetic drug ordinance that has to do with bath salts, and it hasn't been the issue that it was, but it may be something we want to bring back to the council if that becomes a problem again.
Synthetic drug is different than a real drug.
Well, it all depends on the source of the chemical, I guess.
She's going to have to identify me.
And then there was some talk about our parking fines and whether that should be reviewed. Fire department, like the police department, operates with a number of different grants. We have had in the last 2 years and have been approved for another 2 years a SAFER grant. The staffing in the original grant was two engineers. It's now one engineer because we've been able to absorb the other position within the department. The Homeland Security grant, again, is there's money that is awarded for equipment. Volunteer Firefighter Assistance Grant is a 50-50 share equipment grant that we annually apply for. The department has just started notifying businesses that we're going to be reinstituting the business inspections. And AB's got a schedule where we'll cycle through all of those businesses in the downtown area over a certain period of time, and they'll do self-inspections or self-reporting in the intermediate time periods. And then moving on with residential defensible space inspections that we started last year. We're in the second year of that program, identifying high hazard areas that we concentrate our inspection efforts in. Some additional grants that the department's applied for, with the Lowe's grant that would, if funded, would provide monies to do some repairs at the station kitchen, and the Assistance to Firefighters grant, which is for an additional vehicle, an engine, and exhaust ventilation equipment within the fire station. Two other programs that the fire chief is working on. One is part of city policies, and that's the injury illness prevention plan, and the developing of vehicle replacement program. The listed as a pending project is the defensible space ordinance. The council had a chance to review that. It's gone back for revisions, and we'll schedule a committee meeting to review those revisions before we bring it back to the council. And then just a few things for Public Works. They're involved in the street furniture replacement program, cycling through with the benches and the trash receptacles. We did have 3 vehicles that are in this year's budget that we're in the process of purchasing. The one truck has been purchased for animal control, and there's 2 vehicles still to be purchased within the police department. The mayor and others have brought up the issue of the intersection lighting improvements, and that's something I've got the Public Works Department working on. And then some other pending projects like the Green Belt. We've got other tree mortality issues that we've got to address within the city. There's been discussion about using some of the I don't think of the right term. It's not preservation. Anyway, funds that might be available for rehabilitating the cemetery. And we do need to develop a street striping program for this spring, because we've got a lot of, we don't have striping equipment any longer, and there's a lot of center line striping that needs to be done, crosswalk striping back on city streets. We'll have to contract out that work. So that's a pretty quick overview of the departments and their programs and activities, and the different items that we would like to get some direction on in terms of what your priorities are, or what other items we should add to the list, or what no longer needs to be on the list if there are assignments that are listed here that council doesn't think are necessary any longer.
So, Mr. Mayor, I guess we got to set maybe some ground rules and how we want to move on from this point.
Yeah, that's an issue for, I suppose. The parking lot studies, I'm not sure how important they are. Community art.
I'd be interested in hearing if there's any public comment at this point before we start our prioritizing. That's just me.
Anybody in the audience have any idea?
Okay, I'll have something to say. I really care about the streets and people getting hit on Washington Street and Stockton Road. And there's a lot of soft lighting all over town now, just not on Washington. And there's several streets where the yellow lines are totally gone. So if it's raining, it's hard to tell where exactly you are on the road. So I consider that very important. And then, if seems to me you need to update your technology so you can use your website, because that's getting kind of old. So that seems kind of important. And I would think the business inspections in the fire department are kind of important, because I know there's some buildings downtown that don't appear to be very safe at the moment. And I'm kind of impressed. I've seen the powder-coated trash receptacles. They look really nice. So I would like to see recycling bins and, you know, that kind of stuff get kind of cleaned up downtown. And downtown does look a little bit cleaner than it has, so I think that Sunday crew is very helpful. So those are my comments for right now. Thank you.
I think we ought to stick to the basics. Good fire department has got trucks small enough to get around our streets, and good police force, which we think we have, and decent sidewalks, which we don't have, and turnabouts out here at School Street and that. My personal opinion, there's a big truck comes to Blue Mountain and have trouble with that thing, I'm sure. Yes, sir.
My name is Harry Olds. I'm new to the community. I met most of you, talked to George and Jim, Bill the other day, and Connie, and would like to try to work with you to achieve a larger amount of people coming to your meetings, and encourage the people to work on projects that are larger than your resources and budget have. I think that other things, if we can invite people to work on projects and we can explain what you do more, I think you'll have a larger participation. And you'll have I'd like to build toward a more collaborative community, and I've taken the trouble to go ahead and put out some steps here. So I'll start with Tim. You and I were going to meet Tim anyway later on in the month, you said to me, so we'll do that. And here you go, George. You have a list of considerations.
Same thing.
Considerations. Oh, 2 pages now. And Ron, I apologize. I just got Bill on the last one Friday night, so we haven't had a chance to see this, but I enjoy your time on the council and all your work you've done. Okay? Bill, anyway, Connie has considerations. Okay, do you need one too,
Yes,
Jim?
please.
All right, there you
Thank
go.
you very much.
All right. So I'll give you time to glance at that. Basically, a couple of things I'd like to see is, Tim, thank you for organizing this the way you did, because this makes a strategic plan pretty easy. My suggestion is to use the outline that the county has for the 5-year plan, project plan, work plan. Use the same format so the citizens can, compare the two and see what both the county and the city are doing. Okay? And I'll be glad to help Tim on your staff to effect some of this. I even want to get some of the leadership class people in Sonora involved in your city. I've already talked to Zach Abernathy, and he's quite enthused about this project. We need to get more of the kids out into the city, into what you do, into understanding what they can do, give them pathways. Zach suggested that his idea is word pathways. He wants to go ahead and build pathways for the youngsters to go ahead and take, whether their career, or whether they work here, or whether they go into other cities. And I've talked to Klaus Tenbergen also, and he has the same idea of pathways. And if you take the junior college curriculum, you have about 20 pathways for careers, which is great. But both Zach and Klaus, when they say pathway, they also mean, they use the word center. It means a concentration of work. Like we're talking about the firefighters, you recently are talking about the water programs at Columbia. And in Sonora, you can have other selected pathways that more of us in the city get involved with, as long as you'll allow us to work with you. Okay? So they can read what I have, and Tim, if it's all right, appropriately, if the council says it's all right for me to talk to you, then I'll set an appointment up. So someone from the council should get back to me and tell me if you want to go forward. This is what I'm proposing. You need both a strategic plan, I think, that the public can see, so you can achieve things and they can see what you're doing. I think you also need to put your CAFR online, this annual financial audit that every city and county is supposed to do. I've talked to Beyond back there about that. So those two documents should be online for everyone to see. And I don't know, your website looks pretty good. You may have people updating it, but that's up to you. So the strategic plan, you already have sections of pending projects, and I'd like you to have in there projects that we in the city come up and suggest to you, okay? As an example, let's just say the Pathways program. It isn't that you do it, it's that you work in conjunction with us as a coalition, and you allow it to happen. You introduce us to more people. You tell us more of your ideas. You allow us to meet with you and take the ideas and write them up. And like a staff person plans things, okay? It saves you a lot of time because they take an idea and go ahead and expand it, do research, and come back with a reasonable outline of what to do, and then you tune it and use it. So that's what I'm proposing to you today. Now, the meeting I'm suggesting to get the strategic plan, there's a couple of steps in here. One is I think that the council should start with a strong rough draft. I don't think you should just come, I don't think you do, but I don't think you should just come and say, let's think of these ideas, even though you have them down with Tim here. But these should be put into a strategic plan format that you like. It should be coordinated with you at the point in time that sounds pretty good to all of you. Then you schedule a meeting 2 more weeks out of that. This is just my idea. I'm suggesting that you have a day and a half meeting. On Saturday morning you come and tune your strategic plan that's already been written and you've kind of looked at it. In the afternoon, what I want to do is organize whoever you want to suggest or anybody else who wants to come and put in the suggestions that they want as projects to the plan. And unless I'm not allowed to do it, I'd like to have some meetings ahead of time to anyone who wants to suggest, get them written up so they're in a format and not just verbally given, so that the written format comes to you. And meanwhile, I'm going to have 3 or 4 scribes from the high school take it and write it up for you. They're quite good. So we're going to take all those votes and integrate with yours and give it to you Sunday afternoon, and then you finalize it, and it'll be a strong rough draft for Tim for you then to adjust whatever you need. But you'll have both your own input organized and you'll have what the public would like to see. Okay, do you have any questions about that? Speak up.
I don't have any questions.
Okay.
I think
How do you like the plan?
it would be, the first step would be that Mr. Miller have the opportunity to review what it is that you're proposing to see how it fits in and how it might work to the advantage of the city and to the residents of the city. So that would be my recommendation. The first thing that happens is that the 2 of you sit down and have a conversation about it.
Okay, I missed who you were asking me to see.
Mr. Miller.
Oh, Mr. Miller, sure, okay. Well, Tim's already invited me to have a meeting with him, so am I correct, Tim, on that?
Sure, I would say I'm discriminating.
All right.
No, I set it up, I'm gonna be gone this coming week, but I'll be back.
The week after is just fine, Tim. George, do you have any comment? You're
Well,
going to have a meeting with all the people in the city in terms of the businesses, so we should get together on that.
Yeah, we're having a meeting coming up. It's going to be an interesting meeting. But one thing that you said today kind of piqued my interest, and that's talking about the youth
Yes.
and the lack of combination between the city, and we have 2 schools in the district, an elementary school and a high school.
Right.
And my time on the board, which hasn't been too long, council, I should say, there hasn't been very much at all in regards to interaction between the city and our schools.
Right.
And I think your suggestion of getting that motivated and talked about, I think, is a fairly good idea.
Good. Well, I've talked to Vulcan about that, but she's primarily with the arts in terms of arts and music and things. That's her current interest. But I have a person that I want to introduce. It's Olivia Phillips. Olivia, could you stand, please? Thank you very much. Olivia is going to work with me on the pathway projects. She's 22, so she is going to relate to, I'm a shade older, I'm going to relate to the students. And so we're going to start off trying to, George, you have to figure out what to do. You can't just run off. So we're going to figure out how to make the connections. We're going to talk to Zach Abernathy, and we're going to try and see what things the students needs. And then we're going to develop any number of pathways. I can show you the 24 pathways that the college has. We have to see what Zach wants in the high school. And then we have to find people who say, well, I'd like to talk to some of the students. And we have any number of people. I've had about 6 people, I won't mention their names, who say, well, I wouldn't mind if you get it organized. You see, the issue is to try and get it organized. And I have a little bit of time. I can probably help you in that. But I need to listen to you, what you'd like. I think I talked to Bill, and he was fairly enthusiastic about involving the youth in this. And I've seen the class. I heard the poetry out loud the other night, and Connie, they were pretty mature. I was kind of shocked. I don't think I was that mature in high school, but they sure were. It was a very good poetry session. So this is what we're trying to do, and we're not trying to rush it. We're trying to not put a plan that you can't do. We're trying to, but Tim, we're trying to get a plan that you've outlined here that you need to do, and by the city, that's your job. But we also want to see if the public can include some extra projects for the youth connected with the university, because I've talked to Klaus at Tinberg a number of times, and he wants to build 5 centers out there to support a larger number of things in the community. Klaus is an interesting guy. He said, they talked to me about the firefighters program. And he said, do you think it'll be county-wide or maybe a couple of counties? He paused, he said, no, it's supposed to be for the entire western United States. You see, so he isn't slowing down. And so I want to bring more things in that the community can do and see if I can help you. Okay?
All right, thanks, Harry.
Thank you. Thanks, Connie.
It seems that, what we're doing today with all of the information that we have regarding projects, things we have to do, things that need to be done, things that in the future need to be done, that we're probably at the first stages of some kind of a strategic plan. And if there's a way that there are community members that can help the city with putting something together like that, and that would be beneficial to our staff, then there could be a nice synergy, and especially bringing in younger people that could learn about public, being in the public center, possibly going into some kind of a public job. So I think it all is good stuff that could really be a benefit to the city of Sonora.
When I was in Sonora, we used to have an outdoor connection to the city. It's called Civics. We had some other things we would attend meetings as part of our class. Because I graduated in 46 a while back, and now different system of teaching, I think. And maybe I was old school, but I think basics, reading, writing, arithmetic is an important thing to learn. And what I found out in my 51 3/4 year on the city council is you don't get people up here unless it affects them or their area. That's when you get a good crowd of people up here. Been that way for all my life. Not all my life, but since I was 35 or so years old. And I still think the city ought to, the basic things is, halfway clean streets, halfway decent sidewalks, a good police department, a good fire department, a lot of this flu stuff, well, we get those things down good and pat. We're older people, which we have a good percentage of our county is older folks. Can walk on the sidewalk without tripping and falling and going up and down this way. Maybe I'm sounding like a sidewalk nut, but we need some help around town, different places. And of course, if you're young enough, it doesn't bother you much, but I'm telling you, there's a lot of folks I hear, I get complaints about. So, it's my feeling at the moment.
I have a question for Tim. On the presentation that you gave to us, Tim, if it's an ongoing activity or a current assignment, those are already in play, correct?
That's correct.
All right, so we don't need to prioritize those because all of those are moving forward.
Yes, at some level or another, yes.
Okay.
So
Connie, like the Wood Street Park well.
that's under pending.
That's
Yeah,
under-
So we're not working on that. If it's in that category, it's an assignment that is to be worked on.
Okay, so that's.
So it's the pending projects assignments that you want us to look at and then add anything that additional to go under pending
If
projects
there's
assignments,
something,
is that
yeah,
correct?
if there's something I omitted unintentionally from the list, or there's something new that you want to add, then it should be added.
Okay,
The ongoing and current assignments, it's a little bit blurred between the two, but I want to try and, if it's under the ongoing category, it's something we either have a history of working on it, like a grant, or it's a seasonal thing that we're going to be doing, like the mid-year and audit and all those things that kind of roll in together. That's not just everyday routine, not maintenance, but routine work activities like payroll and timesheets and leave requests and that kind of stuff. The pending projects, I try to include in that category the ones that we still need to prioritize and still need to work on. I think unless I miss something, that's the way it should. That's what it should be.
okay, I don't see on the list the chamber sound system. Unless it's already been
No, I
fixed.
didn't include it.
Okay.
We've been working on it. We did some tune-up to the mics. This one's a little bit weak, but it's not fundamentally, it does operate. There's just something, we're gonna get someone in to do a sound check on the whole system and balance it again, because I think part of the problem is that everybody sort of tweaked it all on and off. And so that's, I didn't include that on here, because, it's not a major project, but we were down working on it last week.
Okay.
In the Sunrise Assessment District, is that those three pieces up, there's nothing paid up or something?
That's the Sunrise Assessment District is the defaulted assessment bond district. And there's been some direction from the council on things that the staff should do, and we'll have a discussion about that in closed session tonight as far as the status.
And the only reason we're worried about that is because the land can't be developed?
With the level of assessments that are in place, if it were to go through an auction or a sale, like some of the properties are noticed for, it's not likely there'll be a buyer. So unless there's some consideration of the assessments, liens, penalties, and interest, it's not likely those properties will be developed. But that takes a whole different process to work through the status of those properties.
Because we have there's certain properties around that aren't developed. I've built one new house up there that I saw.
Yes, I saw that.
It's been sitting there for a long time like it was. It's getting built.
So I'm concerned about where we go from this point on. We
Well,
gotta
that's
get
what I was-
going because our
that's-
time is
that's what I was-
limited here.
That's what I was trying to get to. So maybe what we should do is start with the pending project under administration.
Sure. Let's go department by department.
before we do that, when I was looking at this, I took into consideration things that were important to the citizens. And the two things I came up with to begin with were safety and cost savings to the city. And you've already got on your list the intersection lighting, and we know that the Mount Greenleaf project's moving forward. The Woods Creek well, the reason that we have that on there is because of the expense that we have of utilizing city water, potable water for the Woods Creek Park. And we removed it from a grant opportunity after discussion with Mr. Miller, because we felt that we would be able to do this probably faster and more cost effectively if we did it without going through a grant process. So, and then the third thing was employees, and I think that employees always need to be looked at, and health benefit review needs to be done. It will hopefully end up being a cost savings to the city. The class comp study we said we're going to do, and the health benefit review we said we were going to do. And then I'm going to take it over to Vision Sonora, some of the projects in there. And the parking lot study, Mr. Mayor, I think is important because it could open up parking spots for our people in downtown to come to downtown Sonora. And then the Lineberg field closure study, I feel, should be done so we can make a determination as to whether or not a street is going to end up being a plaza or not be a plaza, so that we can continue to move forward with some of the requests that were made when the Vision Sonora plan was being created.
The parking lot study needs to have some signage on Main Street that's visible. We did the thing about Vision Sonora, we called it back here before. It was a nice brown and white sign.
Well,
that you can't see.
Right, but that will be part of it because there's a wayfinding. I think I saw this in here. Wayfinding under the Vision Sonora would be a wayfinding signs so that we can put in better signs for parking. But we may as well do the parking study first so that we know which way to direct people to go to parking lots. So those are the first things I thought about.
Well, that's about all but one of them.
Well, the field in Lindbergh proposed either one of those, just, you know, it doesn't get a little problem. You got one business on field, and you got 4 parking spaces on Lindbergh that get used frequently to benefit a certain business.
Can't do anything until we have a study.
Right, so we probably need a traffic count, so you could do that. How many cars a day use it?
So Connie, did you classify these as the first most important and the second most important, or did you get that far?
No, I just thought about it in terms of between now and the end of this fiscal year, what are the things that we could accomplish? And the downtown intersection lighting, I think is very important. We had another person, I understand, that was hit last night. Everything to do with what we have promised to our employees, the class comp study and the health benefit review, I think are high priorities.
And those are going to take some time. I mean, they're not, when you get proposals out to do the analysis, to work through with the employees, it's going to extend, I won't say through the term of the MOUs, but certainly a 6-month or longer process. And because of the commitments we made, those are things we do need to do.
Right. But those are things that between now and the end of this fiscal year, which would be June, that we could get started,
Yes.
correct?
Yes.
Okay. And then would also add on to that, we've said we're going to do a parking lot study and the traffic study for Lineberg and Field. So I would put those in that category. And the Woods Creek well, I put into the category to get started on, because if we don't get started, if we're going to do it, we need to get on somebody's list to get it done. And the Woods Creek Little League is going to start in that park probably around the end of March. They begin practicing on February the 8th.
Yeah, I was going to say they probably already started.
They
So-
they have started practicing.
But it would be nice if we could supply a park with green grass for people that are down there and take care of our ball field for the little leaguers, and also save the city dollars by not using potable water to keep the grass green. So
You
those
have a
would be
price on a
my-
well yet? Ken?
I don't remember, we did some estimating when we were working on the grant. It would take, I don't remember this, but given the rate structure, the cost of the well, and the improvements, it was like a 3 to 5 year payback on, I mean, you're gonna invest money, but over time, it'll pay for itself. I mean, it's an ag well, it doesn't have to be designed and built to potable water standards, and the water level's not that deep there. But it would pay for itself, and that's what makes the most sense. And get off treated water, domestic water, other than for the restrooms and the drinking fountains and that kind of thing.
And I would add one more thing, since you brought it up on your list, and that was the street striping.
Yeah, that would be
Because
a,
That's the primary thing we need,
That's a
especially on
safety
Stewart
issue
Street.
also.
Got the nice two bright stripes on that first block, and then you can't see what you
what street is that, Ron?
Stewart,
Oh.
from Field, from Litton Street, the first block heading north. It's fine, that was repaved and everything. We did the paving of Washington Street, but from there on, it's, I guess, there's nothing.
Okay.
We had something out with a spray paint can, it would be better than what it is. We had a few dots here and there, you see a couple of spots there, you give you a line to go on.
Well, I'm sure they'll catch all of them when they go off and start putting together their list.
So I'm still not clear on what we want us to do here. Tim, do you want us to prioritize? I mean, Connie, you suggested almost all of these are important and need to get started. Are you
Yeah.
looking to see what is the most important that you work on first, or?
That would be the most helpful. I know there's a lot of things that council wants done, and part of the challenge is there's more than what the resources that we have available to do this. So by prioritizing the ones, certainly lighting, we've done an evaluation of changing out fixtures. It's about $500 a fixture. I haven't gotten a hold of PG&E to see if they can do that work for us, or we can do it ourselves. That one we can get done, and there seems to be, there is a sense of urgency to get that done.
When you say fixture, you mean the globe, or?
It's the element side,
Yeah.
to increase the intensity of the
Whatever
element
it
side.
is.
That would be my top priority, get the
But,
crosswalks lit up a little better than they are.
And we've got an obligation to do through the MOUs, the first two items that are on here.
Right.
And then it's a question of, are the parking lot and, well, there's different elements of the road closure and parking lot studies. One of the requests was to look at what our rate structure ought to be on the parking lots, if we ought to raise our rates, if they're going to be kept private. The other was looking at them and considering them for all for public use. So those two assignments kind of work across purposes. So if we want to look at opening them up for public use, we can evaluate what the current availability of parking is in that area, what that would add to the area, whether all three of them or just some number of them should be opened up. And once we make that decision, then we can look at, if we're going to keep them private, look at what the rate structure ought to be, which would make more sense than doing two studies that sort of parallel one another. But could come to different conclusions if there's logic in that. I mean, as far as Thiel and Lunenburg, we can close them. The plan indicates that they should be closed for the plaza. We don't have funding for that project. It's probably pretty long-term before we have funding available for some of the vision store projects. So I don't see that as urgent as maybe something else on the list.
The business license fee update, was that because the fee's too low or the fee's too high?
It's just on there. There's been some comment about the fees haven't been adjusted in a long time. Business license fees are a very controversial ordinance. I've worked on them twice. They can get very contentious. It's just on the list. I'm not looking for more work, and if it's something I don't want to take a look at now, that's
Okay,
fine with me.
scratch that one off.
For now.
For now.
So that goes to the back end of the list, so,
Yeah.
understood. Capital improvement plan, it's something that we need to do. I don't know if there's ever been one done for the city, but it isn't necessarily the highest priority in the items that are here. So, so to answer your question, George, yes, we're looking for some, what are the council's more, the higher priority items.
Regarding the parking lot study, you would rather us look to see whether we're going to open up or not open up before you even go to the level of determining what fee?
Well, if you decide that all three should be opened up for public use, there isn't much point in
Yeah,
deciding
exactly.
whether the fee should be $10 a month or $100 a month.
Right.
Um,
Well, it seems to me that then that portion of the study should be something that's.
Well, then that's
a higher
and that's the
priority.
kind of direction that we'd like to
Right.
get is
Yeah.
if that's the more critical part to evaluate, then let's focus on that and not the other.
Right.
So that would include how many spaces we're talking about, and what might be available if we did that.
What the current occupancy is in those areas where those parking lots would be available, how proximate they are to the downtown.
And now's a good time to start that plan now that we are starting to enforce our parking.
Yeah, you,
So we'll know what's going to be happening in the future.
you've opened up the third floor.
Mm-hmm.
Second floor is still under permit.
Mm-hmm.
The, down by the bank, behind the Bank of America, I think it's called the Coffee Lot. There's spaces there, but there's permit spaces there. And the other is on Bradford. That the county.
Bradford and Nolan.
Yeah, that
Normal.
the county uses, to a large extent, the county uses that, rents that facility for the board members and some of the county staff. A little less proximate to downtown. And a smaller parking lot. So those are things we would look at, and report back to them.
And the community yard thing, is that the big time-consuming situation? I'd like to see that get done.
What
Right, well, there's two parts. One is the entry monumentation that we have funding from the Monoway project that's funded through the TCTC. That's a proposal, develop a proposal, do a solicitation, make a selection, and there's money, like I said, there's money available to put it in. The other is to whether or not we want to do artwork on some of the walls, not the rock wall, but some of the other walls that are in the community. The one at Timber Hill, across from Timber Hill.
Right.
And then the one, as you come up, Monoway, where the big wall is on the south side of the road as you head east.
Five cars pest control.
Yeah, the old Ludlow area where the
Oh,
radio station is.
So it's a matter of.
That hospital road you're talking about?
Yeah, where that comes out.
Oh, yeah, before it gets to Hospital Road.
Yeah, right.
Jerry's cantilevered sidewalk,
Mm-hmm.
wall, you know.
They're gonna waste some money. The amount of cars.
The wall?
Paint.
Oh,
Jamestown announced this morning that they're raising dollars to put in a mural in Jamestown, a historical mural. And, this piece could probably be supported or helped with in some way, shape, or form with the arts groups that are here. And it may not even, it could possibly be a fundraising type of event too, that it's not all city dollars that actually pay for it, so.
Yeah, I've met with the groups a couple times.
So, and we said we were going to do it, so I would say let's move forward and put it on the list, because the weather, once the nice weather really does break, and that'll be the time frame that they'll be wanting to make it happen.
You know, one of the things that I'd like to mention is, it'd be nice to be able to see, and I'm going to just use an example of Dragoon Gulch, where we're at, and have some mile markers where we have to be and what we can get done, and have some checkups. You know, we hit this point, why are we doing this, or where are we at? I'm just using that as an example. And there's other projects in here, I think we should have some kind of time frame with them. You know, here's a schedule, here's what we're looking at, here's we're trying to hit these dates, and try, you know, and realistically.
If the council can identify some of the priorities, then we can go back and take a look at what we can do in the next 6 months, the next 12 months, the next 18 months, and give you better idea of when these things could be accomplished, and then revisit the subject when we can, once we get some direction, we can go back and do that. So you do have a reference to some time frame, instead of just a list of 10 different things to look at.
Yeah, with the list of all the stuff that's in progress, or it's, you know, where's it at in progress?
Some of it we can give you today.
Yeah,
If
I
you
mean,
would like, if you want, we can tell you due dates and when.
I don't know if we'll have enough time today.
I know, I'm just watching the clock.
For what we're trying to just kind of get some
But we can,
parameters set here, of what we're thinking.
those that are underway, we can certainly give you an update on timelines on those that we're working on.
So like the street lights and the crosswalks, are they underway?
Yes, we've had a conversation, we've priced out some of the replacement stuff, but we still need to follow up with PG&E. And then you'll have to budget some, I mean, we're not looking at all the lights throughout town and upgrading every.
Just the one near the crosswalk.
Just the crosswalk ones at this point.
The jaywalking, they get hit, that's too bad. But the crosswalk get hit, that's really bad.
So, are they does PG&E now have a policy of replacing lights with LEDs, the brighter LEDs?
I don't know right now.
Because I think now that,
They should be.
yeah, exactly, they should be. I just passed by a light on the way out toward the wall we're talking about on Clark Pest Control. I know there's one light out there. And all those are those sodium,
High pressure sodium.
yeah, the pink lights.
Pink lights.
And I think, you know, we should be, whoever is replacing those, which I assume is PG&E, that's their lights, should be replacing those with as we go now with the LEDs.
I don't know what their replacements are, or their replacements. I don't think they're going to LEDs, because you'd see a difference in the color.
We have an LED right downtown, right there by Sonora Inn. Just as you turn off onto Stockton, that light, overhead light, is an LED. It's been replaced.
Oh, so, okay, maybe they are. We'll find out.
So
Bill,
I prefer that to happen.
to answer your question on ongoing projects, we can give you a time frame. On the pending projects, what would help is, again, if there were priorities that we could identify short-term and long-term, we could give you timeframes on those, on future projects. The Stewart Street project that's under community development is just through design. This does not include construction, just so it's clear. Since we don't have funding at this point for the construction. But,
But if we don't get it designed, we don't know what it's going to
no,
cost.
I know. No, I know that. But it's not through the build out of the project.
And like on that one, it's due date scheduled to be completed on March 15th. So I mean, we have dates, a lot of the stuff that we can give you on completion dates or dates under construction, or on the stuff that's already underway.
The reason like the Dragon Gulch is the, through the, oh gosh, what was it? The funds, the cap and trade. There's actually a part of the cap and trade dollars, rural areas, for trails, connectivity. And if the environmental work's done, you could apply for it. It would be in March, I think it applies on the 10th or 5th of March. Well, we're not through that process, so we can't apply for it. And there is quite a bit of funds in those for connectivity. And it has to do with exercise and people with biking and everything else. So, you know, it's just another way that we can get these projects built if we can get past the mile marker of the environmental. And I know there was some changes talked about on Dragon Gulch, and I'm not sure where we're at on the changes, or if the changes are going to be implemented.
Do you want me to come out, Tim, or do you want me?
No, that's fine. Sure. Well, here's my suggestions on the first page, under Administration Finance. The items that should be taken off for a longer term rather than the short term. So taken off, I would suggest Restano Crosswalk, Woods Creek Park Well, road closure study, capital improvement plan, and the business license fee update. Those would be a longer term, and the other ones would be a quicker prioritizing.
Rosano Crosswalk's funded. We just haven't done anything with it.
Oh, I didn't hear that.
Oh, yeah, I didn't know that. It is funded?
There is money there. That's a tricky spot there, too.
Well, then, if there's,
Yeah.
if there's money.
Overhead crosswalk or underground crosswalk there.
Oh, we're not sure it'll work. That's what we need to evaluate.
Is that a long-term study?
No.
Quick study?
What I've done is I solicited from the local engineering firm statements of qualifications. So we've got now 3, we used to have just 1 firm on our list. We now have 3 that we're going to start shopping these small projects out to. We've got, in our policies, we have a professional services contract process. There's now 3 firms on the eligibility list. We'll solicit from 2 or 3 of them at a time on these small projects, get quotes higher than them to go out and do it. So that's the approach we're going to take, because we just don't have the staff capacity to do it.
I'll take that off my delete list.
Yeah, I will leave it on.
Not the active list.
You're going to leave Restano on?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, there's 3 local firms that have responded, so.
Well,
That's
I'm
my
not-
thoughts.
So you're the first 3, and classification study, health benefit review, Restano Crosswalk, and then what else?
The parking lot, public use. stuff.
Part of that? Okay.
And did you say community art?
I did not.
Community art, I've left on there.
Okay, well, that helps.
Well, I'm
That's
gonna-
just my thoughts.
Okay, well, my thoughts is that the first 4, 5, 6, 7 are at the top of the list.
Seven's better than 10 for the moment.
So,
Well, but Connie, the road closure study, we don't have any funding for that. That's going to be really a long-term, so I would throw that in the longer-term category rather than the short-term category. The road closure study.
all right, I'll concede.
Yeah, we're not taking it off, we're just backing it up.
We're just going to back it
Yeah,
up.
right.
Okay. Because I was thinking in terms of the same way Tim just said. What do we need to get done in the next, between now and the end of this fiscal year? And then the next 6 months, and then the next 6 months. So then then we're starting to put together really a strategic plan of when we're going to be doing these things and can carry it on through. Okay?
Yeah, no, I'm not suggesting we take anything off the list.
I think there was one year that said business license fee. But
Well, no, I just thrown that in the long-term.
oh, okay, all right. I thought
You can throw it away.
No one wants to take, no one wants to take that, I just put,
I think there's some on the list, on this list here, that could be done very easily. It's just, we've talked about it, like restroom maintenance. I'm sure we're talking about the restroom over by the,
Police
Coffee Park.
Actually, we're close to making arrangements with the probation department to do that,
Okay.
along with the other downtown maintenance. that we're doing.
Michelle?
Okay, so let me zip through real quick. So, let me get for community development, because Tim and I have the most project lists, then, these guys have all the, they're the
Ongoing.
nuts and bolts type stuff, let's say. So general plan zoning update, you guys have provided funding, and our planning consultant, I'm working with her, and we're hoping to have that totally completed by the end of the fiscal year. She's been working on it for 6 months. It's a long process. It doesn't happen overnight as well. The Green Gulch master plan, what happened is we got funding to do the environmental. So we hired a consultant, and we also hired studies to be done for that, including the traffic study for the turning and the biologist and the archaeologist. We did have the trail cleared so the archaeologists and the biologists could get through. So we we hired the Stanislaus Forest. They actually went through and marked the trail so that they could go out there, because the biologists had to walk the whole trail to do the environmental. As it stands today, the biologists that we hired would not be able to say that we can mitigate this project to a less than significance on the impact the trail would have on the biological resources out there because of the trail design. As such, that would require
Who did that?
Diane Moore. She's our biologist, and she's done tons of work for the city and the county, all over. She's well known. And she's very, I would say she's not real conservative. She's pretty open-minded. Tim's used her in several cities around the state. But there's no way that she can do that, so that would trigger a full environmental impact report on that project. So the recommendation is to go back and look at redesigning it to soften that, the impact that it'll have on the biological resources. So we met with Tyler and we met with Darren to talk about the best approach to that. And everybody agreed the best approach is to go back and look at working with the Stanislaus Forest crew, have them give us an estimate, which they're working on, to revise the plan and have the biologists look at it and see if we can't get through the CEQA process with just some mitigation measures. We don't want to do a full environmental impact report on that project. We don't want that to go through Fish and Game and Corps of Engineers and all the other stuff they're going to throw on that if we go that route. So that's where we're at on that. We should have the estimate back from them by next week, and then they can start working on the plan. They needed to wait till winter because they're just winding down with their stuff, and then they'll gear up and look at it. They are interested in working with us on it.
Yeah, we don't want to hurt any of that poison oak or.
They were too close together, so you're going to have, that was the issue, too many back and forth. You're going to have erosion problems and people cutting across. So we're not going to end up with a 10-mile trail, but we'll end up with a trail that can get the job done and that we can build without having to do an environmental impact report and deal with a lot of issues out there.
Didn't we have, if I remember correctly, didn't the trails company we hired, they had different plans? So that's what we ultimately could get in. Didn't they have some lesser plans too?
They did, but they were all around the 8 to 9 miles worth of trails. So, and that was, when they got out on the ground, that's when they saw what was going on. Until you're really out there, because, a lot of it was looking at through the brush.
Yeah.
So that's what's going on that. So that's where we're
What are you
at.
estimating the new mileage would be then?
I don't know. That's
It's
part
gonna
of
be
the
less
plan.
than 8, you think?
It'll definitely be less than 10.
Right,
So it's hopefully somewhere between 8 and 9.
okay.
The fire flow project, which is under the block grant, that's scheduled to be done in the middle of April. We are looking at a change order on that because we have additional funding, so that we're doing a bunch of change orders because we're doing underground work. So I've been processing a lot of change. It's taken a lot of staff time. But
Is that why they're not finishing what they got started?
no, what they're doing is that they're putting the hydrants in, then they have to come back and do the paving, but they're gonna do all the paving and patching at the same time they do the water lines. So the water lines are going in, and then they'll come back and do all the
The
paving.
one by my house has been sitting there like that for
It will.
over a month now.
It'll be sitting there probably until March,
Oh.
and then they'll come back and go back and patch the streets and do all, because the other thing they had to do is they were waiting for the asphalt plant to kick back up, so. So the historic inventory schedule will be done in July, and then we've asked for an extension through CDBG for the Stewart Street project, because he wasn't ready to go, the weather was an issue, and we've asked them to give us a year extension. They just came back and wanted some additional numbers from the city, and I'm working on that now. So that's that, and then we have the committee stuff. Stewart Street Stewart Street restrooms, the design committee will be reviewing elevations at their meeting on the 19th, and then it will go to the Vision Sonora committee, and staff's been working, we had the public works looking at the layout, and what elements to go into that, equipment and finishes for the bathroom for ease of maintenance for the public works department. So we, public works, and Tim and I met, and we looked at the layout and picked the layout that would work the best, and we're working through that. So that one's scheduled to be done on March 15th. That's our contract ends with them. And the design will go from the design committee to the Vision Sonora committee, and then on to the council for recommendation. Website, we're ready to meet on, we're ready to rock and roll on the website, and we're going to be meeting with the marketing committee in March to get some details as far as design elements they want to see before we issue the RFP, and then it'll go to community development. Tim wanted it to go design first, and then to community development committee, and then we'll put the RFP out on that one.
Does the council get any input on that?
Yeah, then it comes to you guys. Opera Hall repairs, those, Tim said, RFP, those are all out to bid except for the Education Center. The bid opening is on the 25th of this month, and then they'll come to the council for approval at your meeting in March, selecting the contractor. The Education Center, Tim, Jerry, and Darren, our building inspector, have all recommended that the architect provide engineering for the re-roof of that structure, because we have to do a total tear-off, and there's some concern about the material and the design of that building. So I am going to be meeting with them to have them do the design of the replacement of the roof on that structure. So that's where we are on that one. Stockton and Washington, we have to redo the estimate on that because it wasn't thorough enough. So I've got to circle back and redo that and redo our submitted business analysis before we can put that out for an RFP. Park and Ride, we need to just get started on it. It's time. That one's coming to the top. And that one we have to go out for an RFP for a right-of-way consultant because we can't negotiate or do anything at the staff level. Caltrans doesn't allow it. Code enforcement and the building fee update are all under process. And then on my pending stuff, the encroachment permit procedures, I really would like to get some of that done before Jerry really gets out of here because he's the expert on encroachment permits. So we are, even though it's pending, it is something that we started kind of kicking off. However, it's very complicated, nothing's easy, and so it got set to the side because we've got to circle back and do a lot more work on it. And then the other two is we've asked George Reed to provide materials for the ADA accessibility, and I keep bugging them. We have to provide manpower, but it looks like they'll do this. They'll provide the material and the equipment. So we're trying to get that squared away before they get busy again. So even though it's on pending, it really is on our hit list because we want to snag them before they get busy and give us an excuse that they can't get back at it. And if trees start falling, the tree mortality, but we actually, Cal Fire is actually looking at a program out there to help us get the trees out. So that's kind of where we are in all of our stuff. So there's not much left because we're already working on most of it. So that's an update on community development, unless you guys have questions. And I know we're out of time.
Yeah. So head downstairs, I guess.
Our closed session won't take as much time as we have calendared, so we can take 1 minute here if you want. I mean, if we don't open the meeting, people will wait to see you, I'm sure, at closed session. So, if you want to take probably another 10 to 15 minutes like we are. So, pending projects, I guess the three at the top of that list, we've got to deal with the tree mortality as it occurs. Michelle mentioned the ADA access repairs when the grid's available to do that. The ones that are maybe more long-term on that list are the branding and wayfinding, because that's got to come through the Vision Sonora process before it gets to the council, and they're just in discussions about that. There'll be a proposal for having someone help with the branding program, and then we'll be looking at grant opportunities for the wayfinding signage study that we would need to do. And as we become, as we get to the expenditure limits that we need to on the block grant program, we'll be able to apply for grants that could help with one or both of those items. So
Tim, before you go on, the one thing that we had talked about at one time was to do with economic development and our special events that we do in downtown Sonora. We talked about having a conversation within the Community Development Committee about expanding those events in some way, shape, or form, and that came out of the conversations that took place with the Sonora Chamber when they came to the council and talked about other events. So if we could add that to this pending list.
Sure. If we go to the police department, the ongoing grants are things that we're working on. They're in process, and it's mostly monitoring and reporting for those. The other grants are grants that we've applied for. The list of ordinances is in an order that we would work through to bring those ordinances back to the council, starting with the taxi ordinance update. And then as Mark has, as we get through that process, we'll just work down that list. And whether we do a synthetic drug ordinance or we look at our parking fines, those are at the bottom. And I'm not, there was some comment by one of the council members, I think, about looking at our parking fines, but I don't know if there's a consensus of the council at this point to evaluate that. And the other one will do if we think it's appropriate. And the camping one, maybe the outcome of that may be more determined by court decisions than what the council may want or may not want to do. Under the fire department, the same thing, that those grants are, at least one of the ongoing ones, and the inspection programs are ongoing programs. Those grant we're waiting to hear on. The assistance to firefighters grant, the award announcements are supposed to be coming out, so we'll either be successful or not on both of those. The injury and illness prevention plan is a part of our safety committee that meets quarterly, so we'll be working on that. And Amy has started the elements of the vehicle replacement program that I need to spend some time on with her, so that'll come out of that process. And then you've already seen the first draft of the defensible space ordinance, so there's not a lot there to prioritize. And then I've already, under public works, we've already gotten direction on the intersection lighting as a priority project. Vehicle replacement is a budget process that will be, I think we're replacing an order for the 2 patrol vehicles within the next 2 weeks, Mark?
Hopefully, within the next couple weeks.
Yeah. So that'll take place, and then the tree mortality. I guess the one striping we're already identified as a priority for public works. The other is the cemetery rehab efforts and whether we can use the what's the plan? There's that's a perpetual care fund. Thank you. There's some limitations on the use of that money, whether it can be used for maintenance or rehabilitation or new improvements, so we need to get some clarification. I need to get some clarification on that. There certainly is the droughts virtually destroyed the turf and whatever was out there that was green. So there is a need to do some work, it's just a matter of how that work can be funded. So that's a committee, that's a council committee review of the Public Works Committee that we'll need to set up.
And Tim, there was one other thing that we had talked about under Public Works, and that was the storm drain master plan.
That's a good point, I should not lose sight of that. So there was one thing on that list, George, that didn't get translated over to this one.
Under administration.
Put it under Public Works. So what we'll do,
Could that be tied in with the CIP?
it's not a construction project, it's a plan.
Okay.
And what may come out of that plan will go into the CIP.
Okay.
So what we'll do is we'll go back to the current assignment category and give you some timeframes, and then based on the discussion here, show some short-term, long-term priorities for the pending items and give you that update.
You know, Jerry's got a pretty good plan of the storm drains now, but I don't know if he's got all of them.
No, we know he knows what's here. We don't have a plan for what we need for the future. And that's what this will be. If we have a future. Which I hope we all do. No.
And,
I'm looking for a future. Okay.
and Tim, under administration of the pending projects, you've got the capital improvement plan. Can a strategic plan be incorporated into that? Would there be a section in a strategic plan to do with capital improvement?
Yeah, I'd look at it that way, yes.
And then there was one more thing, and that was, yes, one more thing. There's always one more thing. I would like you to keep your eye on AB2, the Community Revitalization Authority.
I have looked at that and we'll look at it again. Its implementation will be challenging, but there may be a way to, maybe an opportunity.
We didn't.
We're always looking for financial
Can
opportunities.
someone
so-
enlighten everyone else what
Yes.
AB2 is?
It's the governor's replacement for dissolving the redevelopment agency. And it grants local bonding authority. There's a process you need to go through. There's some disadvantaged business requirements. I'm not sure that it would or wouldn't work for us, but it's somewhat problematic to implement.
One other thing we didn't include, talking about the youth involvement with the city, we didn't include that anywhere on our list.
I just assumed that that's coming out of a little bit different process. I'll meet with
Different
Harry.
process.
I'll meet with Harry and we'll come back and give you staff's impressions of what his suggestions are and maybe ways to implement that.
And in the beginning, you mentioned the peg fee ordinance, but it's,
It's in here.
It's in there.
oh, all right.
I'm gonna have
Current
Byron work on that.
Okay.
So what was the thing you added in community development?
The expansion of the community events that we have in the city today. Looking at all of our events to determine whether or not we can expand those events. Make sure that they're scheduled for the right times, that they can be of the best benefit to the city, to bring people into the city of Sonora to stay maybe 2 nights instead of 1 night, those type of things.
I'm just concerned, I counted by department how many different things there were in each one. And community development is the leader, 21, now 22, I guess. And I'm just wondering, where's the staff time to do all the stuff that they're doing?
Well, that's why we're gonna come back and tell you what the timeframes are gonna be for some of the assignment. Because they all have to be done in the next 6 months. So and then you can take a look at how that will impact which ones may be your priorities, if you want something adjusted.
I think that's something we need to really be concerned about is that we can say we start a whole bunch of things but never get them done because we don't have the staff time.
Well, number one, this is kind of like a wish list.
Yeah.
To begin with, some of the things are already started, and let staff come back and say, okay, we can do this in the next 6 months, the next 12 months, then the next 18 months, and then we've got a priority list.
That sounds good.
That was the object.
We need some more people to help you.
Okay, I appreciate all the council's input. As always, staff's available to answer any other questions you might have in the meantime, and we'll work on timelines with respect to the current projects and the pending projects.
Mayor, I had a suggestion. If the council could, as well as adjourning the special meeting, could open up our closed session right here if it wanted to, before we went into closed session as part of the regular meeting, whatever the council's pleasure is on that.
Well, so, downstairs, but
So do we want to kick everybody out? or do we want to-
No, I mean, just for public comment before we...
Oh, I see what you're saying. Gotcha. Gotcha. All right.
I didn't understand.
You can call it to order. We can call order the closed session, ask for public comment, then we'll adjourn to downstairs.
okay. Okay, we'll call a closed session in order and roll call.
Councilmembers Joe Canny.
Here.
Jim Garvetta.
Here.
Joe Cigarino.
Here.
Connie Williams.
Here.
John Stern.
Here.
City clerk is here. Administrator Tim Miller.
Here.
Attorney Byron Smith.
Here.
The, interim finance director Gonzalez Sedagian.
Yes.
Fire chief Amy New.
Yes.
Chief of police Mark Stinson. And community development director Michelle Kellogg.
They're not part of the closed.
No, I know, but I just called them off.
And you report on posting the agenda.
At 8:30 a.m. on the 12th day of February 2016, the agenda for this meeting was posted outside City Hall for public view.
Okay, maybe the public have anything to bring up? If not, we will adjourn into closed session downstairs.
Okay.